Hello everybody and welcome back to another Grimdark reading. Today we are reading Endless by Magpiepony. Wrapped in darkness, Fluttershy finds herself in an unknown place. Where are her friends? How did she get there? What's that scratching sound following her? And why is she terrified of it? I think I know why. I really want to say this is why. I strongly believe that's why. This here too says a lot. I don't know, but might happen. Endless. Darkness was not the correct word to describe this place, but the only one that seemed appropriate. It wasn't warm or cold, wet or dry. It was as close to nothing as it could be. The air was thick with a haze, darker than black, that masked a sky somehow darker. There was a ground, uneven and rough like gravel, and yet her hooves still echoed with each step. Hello? She cried into nothing and received nothing in return. She could hear her own heartbeats like an echo in a deep cavern, but with no visible walls to carry the sound. She wasn't sure why, but she was compelled to keep moving, putting one hoof in front of the other, hoping that by wandering around this place she could find some kind of sign or a hint to where she might be. So, gravel. So there's a ground, so is she in an abandoned building? Can any pony hear me? She tried again, her voice echoing in all directions, growing louder rather than softer as moments passed. Make it stop, she cried, curling up on the ground and covering her ears with her hooves, blocking out as much of the sound as she could. Please, she added, and without warning the echo ceased and left her in an eerie silence. So she's been being followed for a while, is what I'm understanding. Fluttershy clambered to her hooves and began to run, unsure which direction to take or how to escape this confusing place. She was too afraid to take flight here, worried that she would become even more confused and turned around, and even slightly afraid that she might forget where the ground was. This place wasn't a place like she'd ever seen, and she didn't trust it. It reminded her of something that might have come from his twisted imagination. His. Who's his? Discord. Always Discord. Oh, Discord, you crafty devil. Oh, that thoughts triggered a reaction in Fluttershy, and she stopped running, panting softly for breath. He was the reason she was here, though she couldn't find it in her heart to blame him. He truly believed that he had made the right choice when he what, teleported you here? Fluttershy's thoughts were cut off. Her ears twitched when she heard the soft sound of scratching somewhere behind her. She started running again, this time sobbing as she did so. She didn't know what was coming, but she knew it was important not to get caught. She ran from the sound, then stopped digging her hooves into the non-gravel in confusion when the sound came at her from a different direction. She recognized the feeling of dread and knew that she had faced whatever this was before, faced it in her dreams. Her nightmares. This is giving me some like Amnesia, The Dark Descent kind of vibes, and I love it. Especially with that picture. What do you call that? The thumbnail picture for the story. This time, however, it wasn't a nightmare, and not even Princess Luna herself could protect her from what was coming. He just wanted to keep his friend forever. He didn't mean to hurt me. Ooh. Fluttershy pled into the darkness, but the scratching just got louder. Though she ran as fast as she was able, the sound still grew louder. It wasn't too long before her hooves began to ache, and she worried that they would fail her. As the little hope she clung to threatened to give out, Fluttershy saw the faint outline of an iron fence come into view. She gasped and panted in joy. Something, anything, would be a welcome sight. As Fluttershy neared the fence, the scratching noises softened until they disappeared back into the darkness. She stuck her hoof out to touch the metal, but hesitated, sensing an unspoken danger here as well. Rather than take her chances, she avoided the metal and walked alongside it instead. As she walked, she noted the deterioration of the metal and the bent and misshapen spires. Is she walking into hell? Their decay gave Fluttershy the chills. It looked unnatural in comparison to other worn fences she had seen in her lifetime. Silent Hill energy? Eventually, the metal fence had faded and crumbled, leaving nothing but the unforgiving ground where it once stood. Fluttershy was so preoccupied with the actual fence that she only now discovered what lay beyond it. There were little patches of grass, trees, and shrubs that blended faintly in the darkness that surrounded it. Alright, so we have another Lost Narrator, Grimdark video here. So, we're just gonna let it play, see what happens. Endless. 7 Lost Nightmares. That's very pretty with all the red. Also, links are in the description down below.
Darkness was not the correct word to describe this place, but the only one that seemed appropriate. It wasn't warm or cold, wet or dry. It was as close to nothing as it could be. The air was thicker with the haze darker than black that masked the sky somehow darker.
Ooh.
There was a ground, uneven and rough like gravel, yet her hooves still echoed with each step.
Hello?
She cried into nothing and received nothing in return. She could hear her own heartbeat,
It's so
like an echo in a deep cavern,
weird.
but with no visible walls to carry the sound. She wasn't sure why, but she was compelled to keep moving, putting one hoof in front of the other, hoping that by wandering around
Just
this
being
place,
in pure
she could find
darkness
some
like
kind of
that
sign or
randomly.
hint to where she could be.
Can any pony hear me? Can any pony hear me?
Ooh. Oh, that's
She
awful.
tried
I love it.
again, her voice echoing in all directions, growing louder.
Oh, no,
rather
it's
than
looping.
softer as moments passed.
Make it stop!
Oh, that's horrible.
She cried, curling up on the ground and covering her ears with her hooves, blocking out as much of the
I
sound
didn't
as she
even,
could.
like, acknowledge that when I was reading it. Ooh.
And without warning, the echoes ceased and left her in an eerie silence. Fluttershy clambered to her hooves and began to run, unsure which direction to take or how to escape this confusing place. She was too afraid to take flight here, worried that she would become even more confused and turn around, or even slightly afraid that she might forget where the ground was. This place wasn't a place like she had ever seen, and she didn't trust it. It reminded her of something that might have come from his twisted imagination.
His
Discord.
Discord.
That thought triggered a reaction in Fluttershy, and she stopped running, panting softly for breath. He was the reason she was here, though she couldn't find it in her heart to blame him. He truly believed he had made the right choice when he...
Ooh. Ooh.
Fluttershy's thoughts were
That's
cut
good.
off.
I
Her
like
ears
that.
twitched when she heard the soft sound of scratching,
scratching.
somewhere behind her.
The immediate
She
change of
started running
pace.
again, this time sobbing as she did. She didn't know what was coming, but she knew it was important not to get caught. She ran from the sound, then stopped, digging her hooves into the gravel in confusion when the sound came at her from a different direction. She recognized the feeling of dread and knew that she had faced whatever this was before. Faced it in her dreams.
It is a Groundhog
her
Day.
nightmares. This time, however, it wasn't a nightmare, and not even Princess Luna herself could protect
Dude,
her
that
from what was
sucks for
coming.
Fluttershy. That
He
really
just wanted
does.
to keep his friend forever. He didn't mean to hurt me.
Fluttershy pleaded into the darkness.
The
but
most harmless
the
one.
scratching just got louder. Though she ran as fast as she was able to, the sound still grew louder. It wasn't too long before her hooves began to ache, and she worried that they would fail her. As the little hope she clung to threatened to give out, Fluttershy saw a faint outline of an iron fence come into view. Something, anything would be a welcomed sight. As Fluttershy neared the fence, the scratching noises softened until they
Ooh.
disappeared back into the darkness.
Ooh, maybe because
stuck
of
her
the change
hoof
of the
out to
terrain,
touch the
right? It
metal,
got quieter.
But hesitated, sensing an unspoken danger here as well. Rather than take her chances, she avoided the metal and walked along the side of it instead. As she walked, she noted the deterioration of the metal and the bent and misshapen spires. Their decay gave Fluttershy the chills. It looked unnatural in comparison to the other worn fences she had seen in her lifetime. Eventually, the metal fence had faded and crumbled, leaving nothing but unforgiving ground where it once stood. Fluttershy was so preoccupied with the actual fence that she only now discovered what lay beyond it. There were little patches of grass, trees, and shrubs that blended faintly in the darkness that surrounded it. Fluttershy strained her eyes when she caught sight of what she believed was a welcomed sight.
Oh God.
Angel? Angel, is that you?
So she
called,
does remember
racing
Angel.
towards her long-eared companion. Once she reached him, however, she discovered he was nothing more than a mere mound of dust, so perfectly sculpted to look like her dear pet.
Oh, Angel. I've missed you so much.
She reached out a hoof to touch him, but he disintegrated into dust. Fluttershy sobbed. The memory of him tugged at the back of her mind, and she reached down to the unforgiving soil to resculpt him from the dust.
He had ears like this. No,
See, I think
maybe
that's
they were
symbolic,
longer.
right? I think that
No,
means
his
she's
nose was
forgetting.
different.
She's
This isn't
forgetting what
right.
he looks like.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's been so long, I can't.
Fluttershy broke
Dude,
into
that's
sobs
depressing.
again, and the dust that remained blew itself into nothing.
That's really depressing.
She stayed curled on the ground in her tears until she heard the scratching again. This time, though, she didn't care. She wanted it to find her. She wanted this endless wandering to finally stop.
What are you doing? Get up! Get out of here!
Fluttershy's head
Maybe
snapped
she's
up
in
at
a
the sound,
coma?
and she held her breath. That voice, no matter how much time had passed, it was still as crisp and as clear
I
as
think
if it
she
were
still
yesterday.
took her own life
It
or
captured
something,
her
or something
rasp
like that
perfectly,
happened.
and the inflection
I
of
don't know.
impatience that Rainbow always had in her tone.
Yeah, silly. Don't let the monster get ya.
Yeah,
Another
for real.
familiar sound. This one so delightfully out of place with its bubbly nature. Then again, Pinky's optimism was typically out of place to begin with. Fluttershy raced towards the sound of their voices.
Pinky, Rainbow, where are you? Please, please say something else.
Fluttershy, get out!
Not until I find you. We're not lost, silly.
You know exactly where we are. We're right where you left us. All of us.
Fluttershy disregarded what was being said. She just wanted to find them.
I've been looking for you all for so long. It feels like ages.
She ignored the pain throbbing of her hooves to pursue her dearest friends, and through the haze, she could at last see their silhouettes. They
It's
were
not them.
together, and they looked like they were ready to embrace her again. This time, her tears fell in gratitude, and no amount of pain could keep her from her friends. At long last, she reached them. She didn't hesitate, throwing her hooves around Rainbow to hold her close.
Oh, Rainbow, I've missed you.
That realization
She
is so
stopped,
depressing.
realizing the object she held now was cold and hard. She jerked herself away from it in confusion. She had been hugging a single flat stone that was sticking up unnaturally from the ground. There were 5 stones just like it in the place of all of her friends.
No,
That's just sad.
no.
That's just cruel.
Please. I've waited so long to see you. I can't lose you all again.
See, it's Fluttershy. That's so
Fluttershy
depressing.
curled up on the ground next to her friends and revisited each painful memory. She hadn't noticed the scratching sounds growing closer until it was too late to run. Fluttershy felt a chill run up her spine, and her eyes flew open in the face of a monster that had been pursuing her all this time. It was herself,
Uh-oh.
or at least another vision of herself. This Fluttershy, however, had no eyes, only 2 great balls of darkness where eyes had once been. Fluttershy screamed and jumped back to her hooves in a panic. The dark Fluttershy only smiled and offered out her hoof
Is that Silent
where
Hill?
a sharp, bloodied knife rested.
That music.
It didn't take long for her to start running again, but the pain in her hooves compelled her to fly. The dark mist grew thicker as she climbed into the air, her wings struggling
No,
to
that's
keep
Silent
her
Hill.
airborne. Her chest constricted, and she
No,
gasped,
no, it's not.
unable to suck in a breath from the weight of the mist around her.
Oh God, where is it from?
Fluttershy strained her wing muscles to push higher
It sounds
and
so
higher,
familiar.
until at last she broke free from the surface of the dark water. The dark Fluttershy was not far behind, pushing Fluttershy's head back under the water,
Where the heck was that
trying to force the life out of her again.
This is so
Fluttershy
cruel. Poor
screamed
Fluttershy,
and
though.
thrashed in the water, bucking at her twin until she broke free at last.
So she's
gasping
being
and
hunted by
shaking
herself
as
over
she
and over
dragged
again.
herself back onto solid ground. The mist began to change again. This time, when it cleared, it revealed an entire forest of trees. Fluttershy looked over her shoulder at her dark twin, who flew towards her, still clutching the knife. She took flight again and headed into the trees, hoping to lose her. Each tree she flew past grew more twisted, more mangled in the thick rope-like vines. She looked back to where the other Fluttershy had gone and flew herself straight into a vine that pulled at her neck.
That's
She threw her
unfortunate.
hooves up and tried to pull it away.
Okay, so I missed
once
that
again
part.
gasping for air, and noticed the vine was being tugged on the other end by the dark Fluttershy.
Oh.
It's the only way.
Oh,
Fluttershy
yes.
called out.
Okay. That makes so much more sense what
I
happened.
never wanted to be
Oh, that's
separated from my
depressing.
friends. Don't you understand, Discord? I don't love you. I want to die.
Fluttershy cried,
That
unable
is
to beg for her life,
depressing.
but desperately trying to cling to it. Dark Fluttershy approached her, the rope still digging into her neck with the blade drawn.
Makes sense now. It
It's
makes
the only
sense.
way I can see them again.
Fluttershy thrashed, her vision becoming hazy.
Oh,
Never even
God.
asked me what I wanted all those years ago. I can't take it anymore.
Fluttershy's eyes
That's
were
grim.
stained with tears.
Dark.
She couldn't breathe, but was somehow still thrashing, as lively as ever.
Magic can't protect me if I do it myself. It can't keep me here if my heart stops beating.
Ooh,
Fluttershy
That
closed
was-
her eyes.
that was
and braced
demonic.
herself, knowing what was coming next.
that's so
Her
good.
eyes lowered. She lowered her ears and waited.
I love that.
When the blade dug into her chest, she threw open her eyes and screamed.
Ooh. Ooh. Symbolic.
Once again, she was on the ground.
Oh no, Groundhog Day.
Nothing
Yes.
visible but
Oh
the
my
dark
God. Yeah, I
haze
love that. I like that a
cloaked
lot,
the
actually.
even
That's
darker
awesome.
sky.
Hello?
She called out, feeling an unnerving sense of dread, even though she didn't know why.
Uh-oh. Here we go
That's
again.
when she heard the scratching.
Oh no. Poor Fluttershy. I like that good cutoff though for the scratching at the end. That sounded really nice. Awesome. Awesome. That's so good. Dude, that was a phenomenal Fluttershy for most of that. It was a good Fluttershy. Like the entire thing. I was so immersed by that. Don't you autoplay. We covered this story. This was also a really good one. But yeah, oh my God, that was good. That was good. Jeez Louise. Props to also you, Pinky Rose. I kind of just talked about Mary Medley, but you both did awesome. I absolutely love that. God, that was so good. That was good. I like that story. That's depressing. That's ominous. It kind of loops on itself at the end there. That's so cool. God, I love that. It's just good. It's just good. I don't have words. I like that. It really reminds me of Amnesia for some reason. The Dark Descent. This just has a vibe to it, and I just love it. I love it. But yeah, links are in the description down below. If folks want to go check this out yourselves, you absolutely can. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, folks.